Hello everyone and welcome back to Arctic Retro. So it's in the middle of September here in Bodø now and I guess elsewhere in the world and I'm back to business both at work and here in the attic and definitely it's gonna be an interesting autumn and it's still very warm here. We had around 20 degrees Celsius the last days. Warm still here in the attic, so I'm sweating a little bit. Anyway, I was thinking it's been a while since I checked out some Atari computers and today I'm gonna take a look at this one. It's an Atari ST 1040. So this is an Atari 1040 ST and I actually got two of those. This is the last one I got and it's a Swedish edition. It has a Swedish keyboard and operating system, I think. And I connected a mouse with both these Atari ST machines. I had an issue with flickering on my TV and someone suggested that there might be the cable's fault, that it didn't have some necessary resistor or something, so I actually just bought a new cable. I'm gonna test that first. It's Atari STE RGB to SCART with stereo audio. So hopefully that works better. If not, I think that the issue is not the cable but my TV. But the main reason for this video is this little PCB here. And this is in fact a hard drive emulator for the Atari ST. I have never tested an Atari ST with a hard drive. I don't have a hard drive for the Atari ST, so I only used floppies and Gotek drives. But of course it supports a hard drive. You have an external hard drive input or input-output port on the back, which this goes into. So what is this? Well, let's take a little look at the details. This video is sponsored by PCBWay and I just want to thank them for a great cooperation and for their support. They make prototype PCBs of very good quality and they also do 3D printing, and they actually helped me with printing this case for this beautiful 1581 floppy disk drive replica. And they also produced and provided me with this PCB for the 1581 floppy disk drive. Even if you don't design the PCBs yourself, you can visit PCBWay's shared project site, and here you can find a lot of ready-made designs which you can just order directly from their website. And right now they have started with the PCBWay 7th project design contest, where you can participate with your designs and win great prizes. So please check out PCBWay for all your hobbyist project needs. So this is an ACSI2STM card, and as you can see here it's from 2022, so it's not particularly new. I have never heard about it. I got this from my friend Robert over in Sweden this summer, and it uses a simple STM32 microcontroller, which is here, and it uses a SD memory card to emulate a hard drive. And by the looks of it here, it seems like it actually supports two SD cards, and it has a battery holder for a battery backed up clock feature, and you just plug it into the hard drive connector on the Atari using this connector here, and it's simply some header pins that are arranged to fit the HD connector on the back of the Atari. And there's a QR code for the GitHub page. We can take a look at the GitHub page right now. Usually I do a little research on things before I make a video, but in this case I did not, so I see this for the first time with you. And the GitHub page is Retro16, and ACSI2STM. I think maybe I said ACS2STM before. So there are some files obviously for the PCB and the documentation for that, but here is the documentation or the README for the project, and it says here, this code provides a hard drive emulator for your Atari ST using an inexpensive STM32 microcontroller and a SD card. So that's the gist of this project. The module supports up to 5 SD card readers, showing them as 5 different ACSI devices plugged in. I guess ACSI is Atari's implementation of SCSI. I'm not really sure, I haven't looked that up. It can work in 3 ways: expose a raw SD card as a hard disk to the Atari, expose a floppy or hard disk image file on a standard SD card to the Atari, or mount a standard SD card on the Atari. Okay, so that's looks like nifty. It also provides an Ultra Satan compatible real-time clock if you add a simple 3-volt battery. Yeah, there's a warning about some pinout, and there's a manual. We can take a look at the manual. Yeah, seems to be good documentation here. It's a quick start guide, using the image directly, read only image. Yeah, and how to create the images and stuff like that. I'm not gonna go through all that now. And here's how to flash the microcontroller and how to compile the code for it. And there's a user manual for the official PCB. Yeah, and there you can see how it looks when you hook it up to the Atari, and it needs external power, and of course, and you can also chain real hard drives to it by the looks of it, or this looks like it's a CD-ROM drive. Yeah, you can also connect a PC floppy drive or floppy emulator to the 34-pin connector. So maybe I was wrong, that's what this is. It's a 34-pin connector to hook up a floppy disk drive, not a hard drive. So then there's some technical details and some details about the hardware, how to build the connector and the pin out for it, how to connect the SD card. Yeah, so it looks to be very well documented, and that's good, and even a troubleshooting guide here. And it's pretty updated too. Well, it's 1 year ago, the last update, so I was thinking August this year, but no. Let's take a look at some of the files here. Yeah, the PCB layout. Yeah, that's the photo of the PCB. So all in all, looks like a great project. I'm looking forward to test it out now in this video. And if you take a further look at the PCB, there isn't many components on it, except for the microcontroller. You just have the battery, the power input, and it supports alternative power input with a 4-pin connector there. And 1 electrolyte capacitor, that's it. Yeah, there's a couple of surface mounted caps there, I can see. And of course the SD card reader. And on this side we have only the connector and 1 little capacitor there. Yeah, so this is a very easy build if you get the PCB. And speaking about PCBs, to get produced your own PCBs, you can always visit my sponsor, PCB Way. They can provide the PCBs like this for as low as $5 for 5 PCBs, excluding shipping. For powering this guy up, I have this barrel type connector and the contact for it, and this just goes to a USB connector, so I can use any 5-volt USB power supply with this. If you don't know what the Atari ST is, it's actually Atari's first 16-bit range of computers. It's actually 16/32 bits, and that's what the ST stands for, 1632. And the meaning behind that is that it runs an Motorola 68000 CPU that has a 16-bit address bus, but internally the CPU operates with 32 bits. And this was a direct competitor to the Amiga back in the day. And yeah, I had an Amiga. I heard about the Atari ST, but I think I never saw one back in the day. I don't think it was very popular in Norway for hobbyists or gamers, but it was quite popular with musicians because it actually features MIDI. It has a MIDI interface ports. So with that said, let's hook up this machine and see if it still works. I did a restoration video of this some time back, I think, but it is supposed to be working in good shape. On the back side here we see the ports. It has its own built-in power supply, so just plug it into 230 mains voltage. It has a monitor output which this cable goes into. It's like, well, how many pins is that? It's 13 pins, I think. And there's the floppy disk for an external floppy disk, even more strange DIN connector with a lot of pins. This is the hard disk connector where we're gonna hook up that card, and there's a printer and modem. Yeah, let me just connect the video cable and see which way does it go. That way. The audio, where's the audio? Does it even have a separate audio output, this machine? Don't remember. No, it doesn't. So why is that provided? Maybe that's for another, like the 520 machines. I'm not sure. Well, I'm not gonna check out the audio. On the side here is 2 MIDI ports, and there's also an expansion connector here. Kind of weird on this machine is that the joystick connectors goes under the machine like this. I hooked it up. Let's turn it on now, see if it powers on. I need to power on the mains. Yeah, it made a noise. There you go. Yes, and it booted into TOS, and as you can see it's a Swedish menu, so it's the Swedish version of TOS, or this is GEM, the graphical environment running on top of TOS, I guess you could say. So when we hook up that hard drive emulator, it should present a hard drive in here where you can run games and stuff from. Let's see if I get the flickering now with this cable. The other cable I had, it was like it flashed off the screen like every 20 seconds or so, but doesn't seem to happen now, so it seems like it actually was the cable's fault. So I inserted a floppy, and yeah, it's some kind of creativity pack. I'm not really sure what's on this and how to even start the programs, but definitely it works. Yeah, it's bomb jack, okay. Cool. So I'm not sure if I get any sound through this cable now without the audio connector in, but I mean, how else would this machine produce sound if it doesn't do it through the video cable? It doesn't have any dedicated audio outputs, but there's now sound. Yeah, I just looked it up, and apparently this machine outputs audio through the monitor cable, but apparently then I got the wrong cable, because it has 2 RCA jacks, which this machine obviously doesn't have, and it actually says Atari STE here on the cable, and this is an STF, so I either need to use another cable or try to modify this one. Anyway, that was not the point of this video now. Yeah, if you boot with the floppy, then you actually get a selection menu, Space Harrier and Bomb Jack. Let's try Space Harrier just for fun. Yeah, there you go. And you control it with the mouse. But it's not fun without any sound. You just have to imagine the sound. Alright then, let's hook up this bad boy and see if it works. I actually got a pre-configured SD card for this from Robert, and then it should be good to go, but I'm gonna go through some of the details, how to set up some of that stuff yourself, obviously. Alright, so that's the hard drive connector, and it's supposed to go this way into the contact. So let me see if I can manage to pull that off. Yeah, that went alright. Then I just need to find some power. Yeah, I got this little guy, USB. Hopefully it's big enough for this. Plug it in. Yeah, it started up. There's a red LED on the microcontroller. So let's see now if it works. I've never tested this. It's the first time. But Robert did a quick demonstration for me in Sweden. Yes, there we go. It looks like it actually booted from the hard drive, because it was much quicker to load gem. And here we have hard drive. It says hård disk. It's Swedish for hard drive. And here we have some stuff. I think it's some games. Golden Axe. Let's see now if I can figure out how to start this. Run me toss. Press L for unlimited lives. Yeah, and here you can see that this machine has 1 megabyte of RAM. Alright, cool, it works. How fast it is compared to a regular hard drive, I have no idea. Maybe the documentation says something about that, but obviously there's some limitation in the machine. Yeah, so that loaded fine, kind of quick. At least quicker than a floppy loading. Select player. Okay. Never seen this game or heard about it. Probably a well-known game for the Atari ST. Probably needs to use a joystick. I mean, I can at least use the sword with the mouse button, but I cannot move the character. So I think you need a joystick. So that one seems to work very nicely. Great. However, I do want to put something else on this SD card. Maybe swap out the hard drive image with another one. I don't know if you can mount like 2 different hard disk images at once or something. I mean, if you could do that, what's the purpose of having the option of 2 SD cards on the card? Yeah, that's what I'm gonna explore now, and then I'll be back. Before I continue, I actually remember that there is a diagnostics cartridge for the Atari ST. I actually got one here, so yeah, let's test if it still is functioning properly. I don't think there were made any games on cartridge for these machines. I'm not really sure. I never heard about it. Yeah, that loaded fine, and here's a wide variety of different diagnostics tests. R for RAM test. Yeah, it says 1 megabyte RAM, pass, and a big screen of green. There's even a hard disk write-read test. Let's check out that. See if it's working with this emulator. S start, command error, controller not responding. Okay, so that didn't work, and the thing actually crashed. Yeah, and you can check the ROM, and it says actually Swedish PAL, and all the checksums are correct, so this is a pass. Anyway, there's no need for me running all the other tests. I have done that before on this machine, so it is still good. But there's still one more test I want to try. It has a test of the real-time clock, and as you can see here, it says no clock installed, and I don't have the battery installed, so I'm going to install a battery, see if it works then. Battery's in. Let's see now, real-time clock, L. No, it still says no clock installed, but I could obviously check that in the operating system. There isn't really a way to set the date and time inside the gem. You need some other kind of control panel software or something, but I figure you can do it from basic. At least it has a date dollar variable here, and it actually first printed in 1987, and then I set it to today's date, 12/09/2024, and printed it, and it stays. So now I'm gonna turn off the machine and boot it again and see if it holds the actual date. Let's see now if it actually stored the date. I'm gonna start the basic again. Print date. Yes, it actually did. So that feature actually works then. However, the diagnostics test couldn't use it. All right, let's take a look at the memory card and see what's actually on it. I haven't actually checked it out before, so I don't know what's on it. I guess there's a couple of files. The memory card is inserted and it came up here, and yeah, it seems like it's just a folder for each game that was on the hard drive, and actually the drive itself, it's just a FAT32 formatted drive. It actually formatted with 4 gigabytes. So there's a lot of room here, and that's the 3 games that was on that. So it seems to be just as simple as that. So how do we add another game? Well, you need to find some place to download games. I'm sure there's a lot of places where you can download games images. I found this one. It's called Atari ST game adaptions, and this seems to be a page full of yeah, it says 1700 games. It seems to have everything, and it says what the requirements are for minimum RAM and what machines it runs at, and the status of validation. Like this one here has a C, which means it's complete. And it seems to be games that are made or organized in a way that they can run from hard drive or memory card. So let's see now if we find something here. Let's try Microprose Formula 1 Grand Prix. See if we can get that to load. Download games, GameX version. 1 meg RAM only needed. Yeah, that's downloaded. Unzip that. It has a start TOS. Okay, let me just copy that directly over to the memory card then. Okay, let's test. I wonder why they used a green background. It's just awful. Okay, so if we go into the hard drive again, there should be another folder, and yes, there is. So let's see now. Start the TOS, see if this works. GameX, press F9. Okay, didn't work, but I pressed space, and there you have it. Okay, cool image. Too bad I don't have audio. Pretty sure it's cool music and audio on this. Disk request, please insert disk 3 in drive A. Okay, that didn't work very well. Oh, okay, I guess this doesn't work with this machine at least. If we go back to the GitHub page, you can read here that the ACSI2STM can work in two different modes, ACSI and GEM drive. And GEM drive or GEM drive seems to be the mode we're in now, because this mounts the SD card on the STM32 and exposes the file system to the Atari. This removes most limitations and brings much more stable experience. But compatibility is somewhat reduced in some cases. And GEM drive supports FAT16, FAT32 or exFAT with no size limits. Then there's only one partition per SD card. And then we have the ACSI mode, and this mode tries to mimic an old SCSI hard drive as close as possible, and the SD card is accessed like a block device and must be specially formatted for the Atari. And then you need to install a hard disk driver to work in ACSI mode. Then it can work directly on the SD card or use hard disk images. So definitely it's now in GEM drive mode from what I can understand, and if you want to use it in ACSI mode with a disk image, you create the folder name ACSI2STM at the root of the SD card, but I thought it said further up that you need to specially format the card for the Atari. Maybe this is what it means, and then you can copy your hard drive images onto the card. Well, I don't have any hard drive images. There's probably some tools you can use. Yeah, here it says you can transfer disk image to a raw SD card, for example, using Raspberry Pi Imager, or you can create a ICD Pro image. Yes, so it seems to be a variety of different options here, but the ACSI mode seems to be more advanced. I'm not going to drill more into that now. So the next thing I want to test out is using a PC floppy disk drive connected to this emulator. The machine already has a built-in floppy disk drive, but if you have a 1040 STE, for example, it doesn't have a floppy disk drive. You need an external floppy disk drive. Then it can be useful to actually use a standard PC floppy drive like this. I got a bunch of floppy disk drives I can obviously test out, but this one I know is working. I have tested it on a regular PC. Yeah. Also need some external power. I'm using this kind of Molex connector. I have bought ready-made with both plus 5 and plus 12 volts. This one only needs 5 volts. The PCB doesn't have a connector for a floppy disk drive. It's just there on the PCB, so I found one here. It's actually an angled one that I had to bend all the pins because I didn't have the correct one. Issue now is to get the bent pins through all those holes. So I think I'm gonna struggle there for a bit, so I'll be back. Well, that was not easy to get that in with all the pins bent in all directions. By cutting them short, I managed to get it in. So now just a little soldering. So now I should be able to insert the floppy cable. Yes. Okay, let's test. Just hook it up to the drive and connect the power and see if it works. Alright, I hooked it up. I just used my bench power supply, 5 volts, and yeah, let's see now. It did not show up as another drive, but the drive isn't drawing any amps, so I don't know if this is hooked up correctly. I thought it was red and black, which is 5 volts, and on that side of the contact. I hear the motor of the drive, it's actually making noise, but when I turn on the machine, but there's no light in the LED or anything. Okay, I need to research a little bit more here. Maybe I'm mistaken. If I take a look at this drive here, it actually says here on the contact 5 volts is all the way to the right there, which is not the red wire but the white. Okay, let's try the white then. White as plus then, and black must be ground. Turn on the power. Yeah, now it's spun up, and it actually drew a little amps as well. Yeah, I hear the sound. Okay, let's try now. Disk B. Nope, it clicks. Well, it's the next day, and I have tried I tried different floppy connector. I tried the one with twist, and I tried another floppy disk drive, but none would work. So I actually read the documentation, and it seems that it's me that's stupid. I didn't read the section about the floppy drive adapter, and in fact it is not a floppy drive emulator in this card or anything. It's just a pass-through from the built-in round DIN connector, that's the floppy drive connector on the back, since the card actually blocks that port. So you actually need to to fix that first. And in the documentation on GitHub, they explain how you do that. You actually just need those long pins, and you need to provide the connectors for the round DIN connector for the floppy disk drive, and then it's just a pass-through from that to the standard 34-pin floppy connector. So I'm not gonna try to attempt that. I don't have those kind of long pins and the necessary type of pins that you need on the end, so I can't build that, but at least now we know that. Alright, so that was it for this rather short video. I got to test the ACSI2STM card, and it works as intended. So it's nice to can just drag and drop games and stuff onto a memory card and just run it directly, instead of fiddling with floppies and Gotex and stuff like that. So I hope you enjoyed this rather short video, and I'll see you next time. And thanks for all the subscriptions and likes, and a special thank you to my Patreons and members. See you, bye bye.